Thank you so much for coming tonight, Dion. I really appreciate it. Lovely to meet you, and would love to know a little bit more about Capgemini and how exciting that you're heading the fintech sector.
Yeah, so what we did was we realized there's a gap between banks and fintechs, the big legacy players. They want to innovate, they really do, but they don't necessarily know how. And the innovators, the young companies, they really want to work with the banks and the legacy players, but it's too hard. The sales cycle's long, the process is painful. And so we believe Capgemini, with our resources, our connections at the banks, our ability to reach out to the fintechs here in the Valley, give us a perfect place to be the bridge between those two worlds.
Nice and exciting. It's like a communication bridge.
Yeah, exactly. I sometimes jokingly call it the Rosetta Stone. When worlds collide, a big bank and a fintech don't know how to talk to each other. Capgemini can be the go-between that allows them to connect in a meaningful way.
And so cool that you're heading the project. That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's a new business unit, so it's brand new for Capgemini. And one of the reasons I was brought in is because I've been in a fintech startup, a couple actually, a couple failed, a couple success, and I've also been in large banks, Citibank and First Data as well. So I actually understand both sides of the equation and have empathy for both as well.
So what drew you towards fintech? What's your passion in that area, that domain?
It's a good question. I stumbled into it, as most people do. I was in the security space of all things, and I saw the gap of how outdated systems were. Payments, whether it's ACH or checks or debit card, credit card, just everything I saw was outdated. And I thought, what a great opportunity to bring in, as a Silicon Valley native, to bring in technology and apply that to all these very old school business problems. And even in all the progress over the last 20 years, there's still so much more to do in B2B, B2C, and across the board.
So is there any particular area of the fintech domain that you are really passionate about?
I actually spent my summer working on blockchain, and I know blockchain is one of those things that gets accused of overhype, and it's not unfair. But I also believe when applied and architected properly, it can really change the fundamental base layer of everything we see today in fintech. And that's why I'm most excited about that. And then the other one is machine learning. I think the ability of computers to think faster, smarter, better with humans in conjunction, I think that has a lot of power as well.
And what's your vision of where fintech's going to head in the future?
That's a great question. I do believe banks, legacy players, remain our primary financial partners for the foreseeable future. But I think a lot of the innovation comes from startups and the fintechs, as we call them. And I think what happens is the banks and legacy players begin to partner through programs like ours and others, better with the fintechs, and that innovation comes from them. I often call it outsourced R&D. Banks don't have R&D, but they can work with the fintechs to get the new innovative ideas brought into the bank without spending billions on R&D. As an example, Google spends $9 billion a year on R&D, Apple $6 billion, Amazon $10 billion. All of these large tech players spend billions on R&D, and yet banks spend none, and yet they're held to the higher order of you have to be as easy to use as Google, easy to use as Apple and Amazon. So I think it's a real opportunity for the banks to tap into that untapped resource.
Banks are very slow to move traditionally, and a lot of their systems are very antiquated. So what do you think? Do you think it's the regulatory issues that are really going to hold them back?
Absolutely, the worst cop-out is to say it's regulatory.
Okay.
Every bank's regulated. It's all people and process. Perfect example at Citibank. It wasn't my project, someone else did it. But we looked at account opening in Japan, and they took that from 140 steps to 14 just by not allowing the answer to be, we've always done it that way. If you get rid of we've always done it that way, you suddenly have a really compelling move forward. And it's about process and people, not technology.
That gave me shivers. That's so exciting. I mean, it's so wonderful that
It's a
you're
great
on that kind.
opportunity, for sure.
Fantastic. Look, thank you so much, and I'm really looking forward to the panel tonight.
Great. Thank you. My pleasure.